my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and this is Wednesday, where I do my Q&A videos, where I answer your questions each week. Last week, I got a bunch of questions, and this week I answer them. So if you want to have your question answered, put it in the comments below, and I'll answer it next week. But we have some pretty great questions this week. The first question comes from Kay Munin, who asked, how do you decide which comics go on the wall behind you when organizing? So if you actually look behind me, I'm going to move over a little bit so you can see it a bit better. Hopefully you can see it. There's actually themes and sub-themes. So you'll see right up here to, if I see if I can point with the camera seeing. Okay, right there. Those are juniors. In here are kind of like good girl sexy covers, like where they're kind of half dressed. And over here is my two slave girls. Below it is like kind of jungly comics. You can't really see because they're reflecting a bit. And then over in the middle is Torchy. That makes sense. And then over here is kind of like some pre-code horror with sexy girls on the cover. And then down here is like Airboy and Canteen Kate and Doll Man. And then we get into Bullet Man. And then we get into, one sec here, Planet Comics. And then the row below has even more Planet Comics. Up above, I get my two Fantastic Fours that are kind of similar covers with the Silver Surfer. And then you got my JoJo, a collection of JoJo comics. And then we got Fight Comics, two Fight Comics. And then above that, it's Silver Age, where I have a bunch of key Silver Age books, like first Spider-Man and Spider-Man #1, and first Doctor Strange, and first, what else is up there? Oh yeah, then I have actually my Phantom Lady. Let me just see if I can tilt it up and you can see it a bit better. So you can see that top row, you can see some of the books up there. My Phantom Ladies are up there. My Mickey Mouse and my Crime Suspense Stories 22 is up there. So that's kind of the way I do it. I do it in these little themes. Every so often, I will change out the themes just to give it something new. I like all the books behind me, so that's why I don't change them that much, but I do really like them. There's a bunch that I plan to switch out, and I just got to figure out what ones I want to put up there. I'm actually thinking of changing these two rows and actually just making it all pre-code horror just for fun, but I haven't really decided yet. Right now, in front of me is like a bunch of pre-code horror, so I keep on thinking about different ways to organize it. If you have ideas on how you want to see the back wall, what you would like to see there, tell me in the comments below, and I'll potentially do it. I might do it. I always need new ideas to kind of freshen up the back wall. Okay, next question from Kim Yunin is actually, what is your opinion on the Western comic book artists imitating Japanese animation art style? Nothing against it. I always think it's cool when artists mimic each other's styles and add a little bit of flavor to it. Like if Western people mimic Asian ones, then that's cool because they can learn a little bit of that style and then put in a bit of a North American flavor. If Asians do the same with North American comics, then that's cool too. They can pick and choose what they think is going to work for them. But what I think is happening with that, why North American artists are mimicking the animation artists of Asia, is due to the fact that Western comics aren't really selling that well. If it wasn't for variant covers, like just these cool covers that they put on books, probably the comic book market would be collapsing. So what they will do is they try to get, where are people reading? What are people reading nowadays? Well, they're reading anime. Manga sales are through the roof, and they're trying to capitalize on that and bring some of those readers back to comics. So I think it's good that they're trying to use that art style to try to bring them back. Now they just got to learn and improve the stories as well. That's the next step. Okay, so those are your questions. Next one is from Tim Ryerson, who asked, do you insure your collection? If not, why not? How do you store and protect your collection? Any tips? So I've been asked this question many times actually about insurance for my collection, and I actually have looked into getting insurance for my collection many times. It is utterly expensive, and it just wouldn't work for me. So what I do is I have my comics insured under my house. So if there's ever a fire or theft, I get certain coverage for my comics. Probably, I'm hoping that they would steal or burn my my dollar bin books, but yeah, it's never a certainty about that. So I don't know. I don't know, how well I'd be protected in terms of major loss. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but there's really not much protection I can get because the insurance price that I was quoted was anywhere from $50,000 to $70,000 per year for insurance, and I just couldn't afford that. But in terms of protecting my collection, how do I there's some basic things that, fire and water and all these kind of things are actually less a hazard than just the natural environment of the room. So I try to keep my humidity at a certain level, and I also try to keep my temperature at a certain level. Another thing that I do is I use special bags on the actual slabs, which filter out UV light. That's the other big thing that can damage the books. Other than that, just proper storage of comics. Golden Age books, it's a little harder to store. I store them in banker boxes, but it's really actually hard to store those older books because there's not proper boxes designed for Golden Age. What else can I tell you? Always bag and board your comics. If you really have expensive comics, get them graded. That's always the best way, because one of the things that they do when they grade the comics is they add special paper that removes a lot of the acids from the paper, and that can damage books over time, that degrade the books over time. So they put in archival paper, generally is what it's called. So those kind of things will definitely help. But yeah, that's pretty much all I do. And always in terms of theft, there's always somebody in this house. Usually I work from home. So I'm home or family's home. We have like a security system. So, and yeah, there's things that you do to protect your collection. Okay, the other thing is, one last tip about protecting your collection, especially from theft, is document all the books in your collection. So if for example, somebody steals a slab, you will actually know that it's your slab that they're trying to sell. And there's only a few places where slabs can be generally sold. So if you know what that record is of that book, where you have the identifier for the book, you can generally protect it from being resold, because you can say, hey, look, that's my book. And that's easy way of protecting yourself and protecting your investment, is having all that. So I use cover price to catalog my collection. And also Go Collect. So you can use those ones to catalog your stuff. That's always useful. Okay, next question is fan for collecting. Hi CGG. I recall you mentioned you have a complete collection of Wonder Woman series, and I thought you mentioned you'd show it one day. I will show it someday, I promise. There's like about 4 issues that are coverless copies. It is a complete run with those coverless copies in it, but I wanted to get covers for them, so at least that way I can show the covers for all the Wonder Woman. So there's 4 books. Kind of bothers me that they're not complete. What other complete series do you have? Or how many complete series do you have? I actually don't know how many complete series I have, but some of the other series that I do have are actually short runs series. So like something like Ghost Comics. I think it only ran like 10 issues or something like that. Ginger, another 10-issue run. Actually, I think Ghost is 11 issues. But A Space Detective is another short run series. Let me think of some others. Canteen Kate, which is behind me. It's only 3 issues. Lobo, which is a 60s series, only has 2 issues. So those kind of ones are easy to complete. And I have a lot of issues, a lot of series like that are, complete, that I have in my collection. I am a completionist, and I do like to get that full run if I can, if it's a short series especially. So there's a bunch that I'm working on just for that reason. What else? I'm just trying to think of other series that I have, like full runs of. Fire Hair. It's another short run series. I think it's like 11 or 12 issues. I'm just trying to think of some other ones. Yeah, there's like a bunch. There's so many that would be complete that I've gotten over the years. So Eerie is another one that I have a complete run of. And then with the Warren collection, my Warren collection is 100% complete. So I have every Warren published book. So Vampirella, Creepy Eerie, Famous Monsters, Help, Blazing Combat, so pretty much anything you can think of Warren, well, I have a complete series of it. So those would be some of my collection. The next one is from Red Rock Shane. What is the oldest standard size comic in your collection? Okay, so the actual oldest standard size comic is Funnies on Parade, which was from November 30th of 1932. I do not have that. That book will cost you around $10,000. So, it's one that I'd love to have just because of that historic element to it. But I do have 2 books from 1936 that are standardized comic sizes. And the second oldest, I guess, would be the Funnies. This is from October of 1936. And it's the first appearance of a whole bunch of characters. It's the first appearance of Captain Easy, Alley Oop, Mud and Jeff, and Tailspin Tommy. So just a bunch of characters made their first appearance in this book. So it's kind of a cool book for that reason. The cover doesn't really showcase all of those characters, but it is a cool book. So this is the Funnies #1. And then the next book, which is from a little earlier in 1936, this is from April of 1936, is Tip Top Comics #1. And this has like a whole bunch of key first appearances as well. This has Tarzan, Alley Oop, and then a whole bunch of other characters. I'll read them all. Ritz Fritz, which is, I think that's her. Is that her there or there? Okay, I think that's her there. I think that's Ritz Fritz. I think that's Captain and the Kids, which is who also make their first appearance here. And Ella Cinders, and this is Ellie Cinders here. So yeah, so they're all on the cover too, which is just a really great thing about this book. So this is Tip Top Comics #1, first appearance of Tarzan, which is pretty cool, and Little Abner. Those are the 2 more famous characters from this book. But Captain and the Kids was big back in the day as well, but they're not so well known now. So those are my 2 earliest books, both from 1936, so about 4 years after the very first comic. Yeah, I'm trying to get older books, but it's hard. They're hard to find. So just to give you a sense, Funnies on Parade, there's only 19 on the census. And that's there's probably not that many even raw. So it's a pretty hard book to find. Okay, Lao Tor wrote, I would have asked you if you only collect the creme de creme of comics, or do you have guilty pleasures like dollar bin fodder comics? I actually buy a lot of dollar bin comics, actually. I generally gravitate to books that are quirky. So I like first appearances. So if a first appearance is a cheap book, I will pick it up. Even if it's a character that I'm not familiar with, I just like to have, oh, it's a first appearance of some random character. I think that's cool. I just recently bought, and if you check out my Instagram, you can see the very first appearance of Buzz Sawyer, or Sawyer. You know, it's sort of like, it's not a dollar bin book, it's Golden Age, but I paid $15 for it. So it's not an expensive book. You know, but who really, nobody's super interested in that character. You know, I just thought it was cool. So I'll sort of had that kind of guilty pleasure of going after key appearances of weird, quirky characters. Also, I like good girl art covers. So if it has a sexy girl on the cover, even if it's a dollar bin book, I will pick it up. So a lot of the books that I have in my collection kind of fit into that, actually, where like I buy a lot of Dynamite books, and Dynamite is known for having great covers, but not necessarily being the most expensive books long term. So I buy a lot of Dynamite, and I have like several long boxes filled with Dynamite comics, like Vampirella and Pantha and Sheena and all those ones from Dynamite. But I like them. I think they're cool. So yeah, but some of the weird ones that are actually expensive is some of the good girl art covers. Modern good girl art covers can be really quite expensive. So it's not quite dollar bin fodder, but they'd be sort of my guilty pleasures because I do like them, and I don't think that they're going to necessarily go up to the moon, or they're not really keys in any particular way, but they have great covers. Okay, next question is from Jerry Wilson. Can you show off some early action comics? My action comics collection is not necessarily the best, but I will show you some, like a bit of a taste of my action comics collection. Most of my action comics are Silver Age, and I'll show you some of the ones. So this is Action Comics 261. The reason I picked this up, it's a 10-center, which does not mean Golden Age. It means that it's actually silver because it has the Comic Code Authority on it. But this is the first appearance of Streaky, I should say, Streaky, the Super Cat. And you can see him down there. So, Super Cat, Streaky. And he has like a lightning bolt on him. So just kind of a cool character. That's why I picked that one up. And this one's a kind of cool one. This is Action Comics 254. And this is actually the first appearance of Bizarro. Now you're probably thinking, oh, Bizarro actually appeared in Superboy. Well, that's true. He did appear first in Superboy. However, he also died in Superboy. This Bizarro is the newer Bizarro, and this is the one that actually didn't die, and went on to continue as Bizarro. So really, the other one was kind of almost like a prototype, and this would be the real Bizarro. So this is Action Comics 254. And the next one is actually a little more modern, is Action Comics 276. And this is the first appearance of a whole bunch of characters. So I think it was like red kryptonite that makes everyone kind of like mutate, kind of do weird things. So we got first appearance of Brainiac 5, Sunboy, Phantom Girl, Triplet Girl, Shrinking Violet, and Bouncing Boy. So a whole bunch of first appearances in this book. So this is Action Comics 276. And then we have more of a major book. This is Action Comics 251, which is the first appearance of Supergirl. So kind of a cool book. You can see her jumping out there. And we have Action Comics 242, which is the first appearance of Brainiac. I like the fact that he's on the cover and he's just like sort of standing there casually. I always love this cover for that. Very cool cover. So this is 242, first appearance of Brainiac. And then my oldest Action Comics, my only golden age actually, is Action Comics 42, which is the first appearance of the Vigilante. So that's my Action Comics collection. This is from 1941, so it's actually pretty early Action Comics in terms of chronological. 1938 to, it's only 3 years into Action Comics. So very early Action Comics. So those are all of my Action Comics. So very, very small collection. But I actually have a whole bunch of more. I have more Silver Age keys and I have later issues. Not many Golden Age Action Comics. There are actually a bunch that I'm trying to get. Like I'd like to get Action Comics 27, which is the first appearance of Lois Lane. First cover appearance, I should say. And there's a bunch of like Action Comics 23, which is kind of the first appearance of Lex Luthor. Kind of not. You know, there's a bunch of books that I'd like to get, but still have yet to find them. So the next one is from Jay Ogilvy. He asked, what my favorite villain, he said, my favorite villain is the Red Skull. Favorite hero, Hawkeye. What about you? So my favorite villain, like true villain, would be the Joker. Always been my favorite. And my favorite hero is actually a heroine. She's Wonder Woman would be my favorite female hero or hero. If I had to go to the male, it would either be Batman or Spider-Man. So one of those two. I'd be kind of like, sometimes it's Batman, sometimes it's Spider-Man. So yeah, when I feel really rich, it's Batman. When I feel somewhat poor, it's Spider-Man. So yeah, I can relate more at those moments to each of those characters. So yeah, but female, like my favorite superhero would be Wonder Woman. Last question comes from Mike Swintel. I used to see a comic book channel called Master and Madam Blaster. Now it's only Madam Blaster. What happened to Master Blaster? I have not seen him anywhere. So I actually looked into this. From what I can tell, they deleted the Master and Madam Blaster channel. There were interviews that they did about 11 months ago where they did it as a couple. And they were promoting themselves quite heavily back then as Master and Madam Blaster. But then they disappeared. So, and then about 5 months ago, Madam Blaster started producing videos by themselves. Now, I don't know if they're separated or what their situation is, but it seems like Madam Blaster is just continuing on as her solo video series. So I'm not really sure what's going on with them, but I hope they're okay. And but that's all I know. I really don't know much other than that. So I hope that they're okay though. But yeah, I used to enjoy their channel as well. I thought it was fun that she would always do cosplay and, you know, have some, then they would show books and, you know, typical comic book channel. But and also I like the fact that they were a couple. I wish my wife would get a little bit more into the comic book collecting. So yeah, those are this week's questions. If you have a question, again, put it in the comments below and I will do my best to answer it. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now.